Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for watching. I just wanted to stop by for a little bit of an educational thought on Yellowstone National Park. Don't know if you might have caught it on the news or not, or might have heard a little bit about it, but one of the normally quiet areas today just experienced a rather large hydrothermal outgassing or explosion. Not too unusual, except in this area. From my knowledge, this area has never experienced an event like this. And I can't show much of this video because I don't have permission to show it. So I'm just going to show a very brief moment of it. This area over here is a pool. And I will show you that on a map here in a minute, show you what it looked like before today. And I will show you what it looks like now. But this little thermal pool is called Black Diamond, and it's normally a grayish blue kind of color and fairly quiet. It doesn't erupt. It's not an eruptive geyser until today. As you can see, it was a rather surprising event, to say the least. Okay, of course. We're here in Kentucky, and I'm not talking about weather right now, but, we're here in Kentucky, and Yellowstone National Park is over here in Wyoming. So, it's a pretty far piece away. Now, what is Yellowstone? Yellowstone is actually a large caldera volcano. I'm looking forward to going and seeing that at some point here pretty soon. But that being said, Yellowstone is active. It is an active volcano, along with 74 others on the east or west coast. I have been out here and I have seen many of these volcanoes out here. None of them erupted while I was there, except Mount St. Helens had a little tiny stream of smoke as we drove by at 60 or at 78 miles an hour down Interstate 5. But that's beside the point. We're here to talk about Yellowstone. So I'm going to zoom in here, and you can already see that Yellowstone National Park is beginning to highlight. I wish this map would really do a good job of highlighting where the national parks are, but it doesn't. And basically, if I drew a line, which I can, and I will, if I draw a line roughly like this, Yellowstone National Park, and I got to go up and around this, and I got to go over here, and come back down, come around this, and then go right through there. Yellowstone National Park is about like that. That's one of the largest national parks. In fact, it is our first national park in the United States. It was the very first one. And Yellowstone National Park has so many thermal features in it. I mean, there's geysers, there's mud pots, there's acid pools, there's waterfalls. In fact, more waterfalls in Yellowstone National Park than anywhere else in the United States. It's just an incredibly geologically active area. And Yellowstone National Park is an absolutely beautiful place. Some of the most desolate landscapes you'll ever see. In fact, in Yellowstone National Park, you can get farther from a paved road than anywhere else in the contiguous United States. Kind of interesting. So let's go in and look a little closer here to Yellowstone National Park. This is called Yellowstone Lake. This is called the west thumb of Yellowstone. And as I zoom in a little closer, you'll see Old Faithful show up there. This is where Old Faithful is located. If you haven't heard of it, it's the geyser that made Yellowstone famous. And as I keep going a little farther in, you're going to see this area start showing up. This is in the Biscuit Basin. This is where Black Diamond Pool is located. So I'm going to zoom on in. And for some reason on here, they're calling it Black Opal. But if I leave it on it long enough, the name changes to Black Diamond. Oh, never mind. It's two separate pools. There we go. My fault. So here we go. This is Black Diamond Pool. This is the normally quiet pool that chose to go a little bit rogue today. And I'm going to go in 3D here just a little more so you can kind of get an idea of the lay of the land. And over here's the parking lot. And you see this is uphill just a little bit to go to the Black Diamond Pool area. And there's lots of little geothermal features around there, little geysers and all that kind of stuff. It's a neat place. I mean, it truly is. Um, it's Yellowstone is unique. I mean, and if I zoom out here a little bit, you can see that you're down in. It's got to load a little bit, but anyway, you're down in the caldera. You're down inside the volcano when you're in Yellowstone National Park. I just find that amazing and neat and all that kind of cool stuff. And it's a circle around here. It'll take it a minute for my screen to load. I don't want to take all that time. But you notice mountains are everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. But then all of a sudden it's kind of like there's no mountains there. That was blasted away in an explosion at one point in time, millions of years ago. Okay, so let me go back to 2D and get my regular map here. So this is Black Diamond, and this is what it looked like prior to today. This is the boardwalk that people walk on to go around it and explore. Kind of neat. Beautiful place. If you've never been to Yellowstone, you got to go. You just got to go to Yellowstone. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Yellowstone and what it is. Yellowstone is a volcano. It's absolutely a volcano. It's one of the largest uh, it's one of the largest ones in the world. It's called a caldera volcano. Covers a huge chunk of land. And this is Yellowstone Lake here in this diagram. And you're looking north. This direction is north. Old Faithful would be right around in here, and the Biscuit Basin is somewhere right around in here, but you can't really tell where on this diagram. Basically, how all of this stuff works. You've got a plume of magma coming up from deep inside the earth. It's called a mantle plume. It's actually coming up from the outer core, and it's rising up and it's driving heat upward, and that heat feeds this bubble of magma. This is called the deep chamber, and this particular magma chamber does not actually feed into the upper chamber. It's a separate bubble, it's a separate chamber, but it supplies the heat for this one. Gives a lot of heat to this upper chamber. This chamber is very shallow. It's about 56 miles long total, and it's roughly about 7 miles deep, so it's not very deep in the ground. And you see these little blue lines here? This represents water. Water is constantly trickling in and flowing in. It's surface water. That's what surface water does. It runs into the ground. So as it trickles in and as it gets deeper down in there, eventually that water gets superheated, boils, and makes its way back to the surface. And as it gets closer to the surface, the pressure gets less and less and less. So as it gets closer, it comes to one of these openings called a geyser, and boom, it blasts outward in a big steam show, just like Old Faithful. Um, and then on a rare occasion, very rare occasion, you have an area that normally doesn't do that, have a steam explosion. And that's what happened today with the volcanic activity that went on there. It wasn't actually volcanic, it was hydrothermal in nature. So, an interesting perspective there to kind of look at this and see how the magma chambers are underneath. So let me go on to this. I have a lot of my students in the past that would always ask me, is Yellowstone going to affect us? Well, this is all the ash flows that we know about from all the eruptions in the past that were major. And as you can see, none of them actually reached Kentucky. But yes, it would change life as we know it if and when it erupts. But, right now, that could be uh, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, a million years from now. We just don't know. It's just hard to tell. You hear all those doom and gloomers on the old interwebs out there screaming, Yellowstone's going to explode. It's going to kill the world. Yeah, whatever. We don't know. We can't fully say that it isn't going to erupt in, a week, or we can't fully say it's going to erupt in 100,000 years. More than likely, what you're going to see is activity like today, just big blasts of steam. Because those magma chambers, let me pop back for 1 second, they're barely even molten. 10% molten, basically. I mean, it's almost solid rock. This is, again, 3 to 5% molten, almost solid rock. So it's not likely that it's going to erupt as a volcano anytime soon. All right, let me pop over to this image. This is on Facebook. It's been shared on my site. This is what it looks like today. All the gray that you see here, all this gray color, is the outline of that explosive blast from the volcano. Let me highlight it here. All of this is from today's blast. And yes, it did damage the boardwalk. So, interesting thought there. And you can see down here one of the blue pools, just beautiful, beautiful clear pools. I'll take just another moment or two, and this is right off the USGS post on my Facebook page. This image shows the area where the hydrothermal explosion occurred today on July 23rd, 2024. Yellowstone's Biscuit Basin, the light gray area in the upper middle part of the photo, shows how far the fragments of rock and mud were tossed during the explosion. While the location is near the boardwalk and the visitors were present, no injuries were reported. Hydrothermal explosions are violent, dramatic events with little to no warning. Boiling water, steam, and mud and rock fragments are hurled into the air. These are not volcanic eruptions, but rather sudden episodes of water flashing to steam underground. They most frequently are occurring hazard in Yellowstone. So yes, Yellowstone has them. They occur all the time, but they are normally in areas that we expect them to be. This was just a bit unexpected. We didn't know it was going to do that. So there it is. All right. I wanted to share all of that information with you and get it out there so you could see it and hear about it from me, because I know some of you would enjoy that. I appreciate it, and appreciate you watching the video. If you don't mind, please give it a thumbs up. And stay safe, enjoy, have a wonderful evening. Remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.